Good afternoon, everybody. The time right now is 3:34 p.m. and I call to order the May meeting of the Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee of the Orange County Legislature. This meeting is being transmitted live via video conference. I remind all participants, please make sure you've turned off your microphones. Please make sure you selected mute or silenced your iPad, tablet, computer, or other device while not part of the conversation. Also, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. Thank you. The public can find a link to this video cast by visiting the Orange County website, www.orangecountygov, clicking on the tab for the legislature and locating the Rules Committee meeting on the calendar. At this time, would you please rise for a moment of silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
God bless America.
Thank you all. Doreen, would you please call the roll?
Amo,
Here.
Bonelli,
present.
Cheney,
Here.
Hines,
Here.
Kulisek,
He's here.
Paduk,
Here.
Vero,
Here.
Davion. All
Here.
present.
Thank you, Doreen. I see joining us as well our legislators Ruskevich and Stiganga. And if I missed any other legislators, nope, I think we're all here. Good afternoon, everyone. For continuity purposes, as we go through today's agenda items, I'll ask those whose business it is before us to speak on those agenda items. I will then turn to members of the committee for their questions. Next, I will ask other legislators not on the committee if they have additional questions. And that being said, we'll turn to the agenda, and I'll look for a motion and a second on the following. And joining us this afternoon is the Commissioner of Planning, that's Alan Sorensen, and I'll ask a motion and a second on the following. This is letter A, the request authorization to apply for and accept a Federal Transit Administration grant, the matching New York State grant and the local match. These funds are apportioned to the Orange County via the federal 5339 funding program. The total FTA grant amount is $530,630. The New York State match is $66,329, and the local share is $66,329. The local share consists of a county share of $66,329. The project consists of updating an existing park and ride lot. It will include improvements to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The upgrades will enhance safety for riders and encourage commuter rideshare activities in Orange County. This is bonding, and this is legislative request number 084. I need a motion and a second, please.
Cheney motion.
Kulisek second.
I got Mr. Cheney with the motion and Mr. Kulisek the second. And as I mentioned, joining us this afternoon is Commissioner Alan Sorensen from the Planning Department. Commissioner, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, this is a request to upgrade an existing park and ride. This is the Warwick Park and Ride. The improvements, as you mentioned, will help to, we'll be repaving, resurfacing the parking lot, as well as making improvements to ensure that the facility is Americans with Disabilities compliant. And there will also be some ancillary upgrades throughout the facility. So there's a need, we have the funding available, and that's why we put this request forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll open it up to questions from legislators on the committee. And the first question I'll start with will be Leader Paduk. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Fagione. Alan, just in regard to that, any of that money paying part of your salary, administrative costs?
No, it is not.
Okay, that's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paduk. Next, Mr. Cheney. Sir, the floor is yours.
Yes, question, in looking at the capital plan, this project doesn't seem to be in the plan. And I was wondering whether there was anything that was going to be removed from the capital plan in order to accommodate this project. How is that being handled?
We are asking for this project as well as the item B to be added to the 2021 capital plan. This is kind of a unique opportunity where we have this funding available and a unique set of circumstances where we had some funding in the 5339 that we needed to allocate so that we didn't risk that funding to lapse. And in conversations that my transit staff, Rob Harrington, had with DPW, grade the Warwick Park and Ride. And so it was just the culmination of these two factors coming together. So this won't be taking funding away from any other project, but rather bringing funding to a new project.
Okay, just I guess to follow on to that, and maybe somebody from the county executive's office could speak to this, but when we do the capital plan every year, we have we basically set a limit on how much we're going to bond. And so I was just wondering whether there are projects that we're aware of now that aren't going to get done, that we would then be comfortable that the number that we had established for total capital projects wouldn't be exceeded, or if it were, that there's some way that the county intends to accommodate the additional cost, knowing that we're not going to incur them, for another year or so, in terms of the actual bonding.
Yeah, I would have to defer to the county executive's office with respect to the specifics on the bonding. But there are a number of capital projects, that we include in the capital plan, not all of which end up, getting implemented in any one particular year. So I do realize, that bringing these two projects on the 2021 capital plan does present that dilemma, but I do believe that the funding the federal funding that's coming to the table on these two projects and the need for the projects, that's why we've made this request. I realize I haven't answered your question entirely. I did reach out to Harry on this, and I don't know if he's on the line, but what I can say is, for this project in particular, if we didn't have the federal funding for this, we would have to do this with other funds.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. Both of them very worthy projects, and my intent is to support them, but it just seems like there's a loose end here. I was hoping to tighten it up. If not today, then possibly next week at Ways and Means. So, I appreciate your answer and your candor, and that's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Next, I see Majority Leader Benelli. The floor is yours, Katie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Just a quick question to Commissioner. Both this request and the next request have Rush written on the top of the legislative request, and I was wondering what necessitated this being a Rush request.
Well, with the part of it is the timing of the funding that we have available, and the need to get this money programmed this year. So with the 5339 funding, we needed to avoid having the potential for this funding to lapse, in which that funding would be taken back. So we had a project, after doing some research, working with my transit staff, we identified a project, and we needed to get this request in so that we could commit the funding in this round, and so that we didn't risk losing it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're
And the
welcome.
other one? We didn't
Similarly,
introduce that yet, but well, yeah, if you don't
oh,
mind.
okay. Similar, but also there is a timing in that we need to, there's a process that we have to go through to get this funding allocated for the project. So we've gone through OCTC's Transportation Subcommittee. We've gone through the Planning Committee, and this will next be on the agenda for the June 8th Policy Committee, at which point this project will be added to the Transportation Improvement Program. If we didn't get, we're dealing with a July deadline in terms of getting the project this fiscal year, federal fiscal year, allocated for this project. And so that was the timeline that we were running against. And the consensus that we had was that it was that we needed to move to get this funding committed in this fiscal year.
Okay, to get it into the TIP program.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Any additional questions from legislators on the committee? And not seeing any additional questions from legislators here. All right, I'm going to call the question then. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries unanimous. We'll turn to letter B. This is a long one, so bear with me. This is letter B. I'll seek a motion in a second on the following. And this is a request authorization to apply for, accept a federal transit administration grant, the matching New York State grant, and the local match. These funds are apportioned to the Orange County via the federal 5307 funding program. The total FTA grant county share is $14,400,000. The New York State match is $1.8 million, and the local share is $1.8 million. The local share consists of a county share of $1.8 million. The project consists of the creation of the Scunnamunk Rail Trail, which once acquired by the Orange County and permanently protected, would facilitate the creation of bicycle and pedestrian connections to the Salisbury Mills train station, Chester Park and Ride, and the dial-a-bus service in the village/town. The proposed Scunnamunk Rail Trail would dramatically improve public transit use and service by providing pedestrian and bicyclist connections to existing transit facilities, while also opening opportunities to expand service with this area of Orange County. The grant application for the use of 5307 funds will include ROW incidents, engineering and design, construction review, public art, and maintenance, bonding. This is legislative request number 085. Now, before I ask for a motion and a second, there's a slight correction that is to be made to this resolution, and it is in the following. It's the last sentence. The last sentence, as written, says the grant application for use of 5307 funds, as read, as I just read, shall be amended as followed with unanimous consent here. The grant application for the use of 5307 funds will include ROW acquisitions, ROW incidentals, engineering and design, construction review, public art, and maintenance. And that's bonding and legislative request number 085. And I ask for a motion and a second as amended.
Motion, Cheney, as amended.
Kulisek, second.
I have a motion by Mr. Cheney, a second by Mr. Kulisek, and I appreciate all of your patience as I read that whole thing. And I will turn once again to Chairman Sorensen from the Planning Department to elaborate on this resolution before us. The
Mr.
floor is
Chairman,
yours.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Doreen.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Legislator Tui has been trying to get through, but he could not get through on the line. He's trying to ask a question of Mr. Sorensen for the first agenda item. I just wanted you to be aware of that before we move forward.
Okay, Doreen, can we do this? Can we take a motion and a second on the, where we are right now? And then if you have that question, we can ask Alan that. So we have Barry, Mr. Cheney on the motion, Mr. Kulisek on the second for B. And Doreen, if you have that question back to A, could you read that, please?
I do not have it. He's on the phone now, I believe, so he can ask this question.
Okay. Mr. Tui, are you with us, sir?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead, Pete. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, great. Actually, it's item number 2, but the last time I called, I couldn't say anything, so it wouldn't unmute me. So if you want to go ahead with this, and then I'll, as long as you can hear me, I'll jump in at the end.
Okay, Pete, you hang in there. We're gonna have Mr. Sorensen speak on it, and then we'll open it up to questions. And due to technology, we'll break from tradition and we'll have you go first. So Mr. Sorensen, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question, would you like me to share a very brief PowerPoint just showing the scope of the trail, or has everyone already seen that?
I think you should show it.
Alan, if it's something you could pop up there, I think that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Okay. Can you see that okay?
Alan, it looks great.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So I guess before I get into this, I want to just quickly acknowledge everyone that's been part of this project. So the Open Space Institute, Deanie Lee, Orange County Land Trust, Matt Decker, Department of Public Works, Eric Denega, Travis Ewald, Parks, Jim Brooks, County Attorney's Office, County Executive's Office, my transit team, which includes Rob Parrington and Martha Bollinger, are part of my core team that are working on this project. And so with that, this is, the project is very exciting. It's a 10-mile stretch of the former Erie Railroad that runs from the Moona Trestle in Cornwall down to Camp LaGuardia in Chester. We see this trail development as really helping to transform the county's transportation system. So it's not only will enhance recreational opportunities and protect important open space, but it also will enhance pedestrian and bicycle connections to our existing transit facilities. We have in the village of Washingtonville at South Street and Depot, there is an existing Coach USA stop there. That particular stop is just a little over 3 miles from the Salisbury Mills train station and is one of the transportation connections that we can make with the Scunnamunk Trail. The right-of-way literally runs right alongside this Coach USA stop. So we're excited about that opportunity. We also have identified funding which to move this project forward. So the way the plan is with OSI has a contract to purchase the property. They are doing their due diligence. They have a survey crew out there, so they're going through all of that. We will be using federal 5307 funds that we have available and that will be used for this purpose. It is referred to in the 5307 guidelines as a associated transit improvement, which includes bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Our grant will be used for the right-of-way acquisition, the right-of-way incidentals, engineering, design, construction review, public art, and maintenance. Now, the public art piece of it is, it's not standalone pieces of public art, but it is architecture or artistic elements that are developed into the design of some of the facilities along the trail. The funding is 80% federal funding, 10% New York State DOT, 10% local. And I will just give you a few. So I don't know if you follow my cursor here on the screen. Basically, this trail will run from just underneath the Mudna Trestle, running along almost somewhat parallel with 94, and then coming into Camp LaGuardia, and ultimately it will connect to the county's existing heritage trail. So, you know, we see this project is really helping to transform and greatly expand our transportation system throughout the county. And I just got to figure out how to go to the next slide here. Okay. So, you know, one of the questions, this is the trail as it exists today. This bridge here crosses over New York State Route 94. It's in very good condition. We'll be able to use that. There are also several other bridges that cross the Mudna, one of which we do believe will need to be replaced, but that's been factored in to this cost estimate. We've had engineers walk the trail with us, and so, you know, we were very conservative in those estimates. And these are just some additional photos. And this is, I could say one thing, you know, obviously there are kids using the trail, and they've been very creative in collecting boards and nailing planks along the trestle so they can still cross it. But when this project's said and done, you're going to have several very breathtaking views on this trail over where it crosses the Mudna Creek.
All right, Mr. Sorensen, is that it on that presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to some questions now, and because I know Pete's on the phone right now, we may lose him. I'm going to let Mr. Toohey go first. Mr. Toohey, sir, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great, both commissioners. Mr. Valentine, I just was wondering with what kind of outreach do you guys do, like along the rail for residents that live along the rail? Will they have any input into this? And has there been any outreach yet?
There will be outreach. Right now we're, you know, coordinating with OSI to get the land transaction completed, but through this process we have to go there's been a public notice that's been published. So that's one of the first steps that's required under the FTA funding. There will be a design report that is prepared that's going to detail the improvements that are necessary along this rail trail, and there'll be opportunities for public participation through that process. And we will, you know, once we have the funding in place and the project on the tip, the funding in place, the funding is in place, but once we have the application in, then we'll begin that public participation process as well.
Okay, and I know that this is just starting up, but do you have any kind of estimate of how many residents would be affected by this, or?
Well, I've walked a significant portion of the trail, and from what I observed, there are not. I did not see any encroachments on the trail. It is being used for some informal recreation and trail use, and I think the I think it's going to be a dramatic benefit to to the community. We've seen significant trail use, on the Heritage Trail. I think this will open up even further opportunities for that, but also expanding the access to transit for Orange County residents.
Great. I think this is very interesting. It sounds great, and just want to make sure that the local residents have a say and they know what's going on over there.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chairman.
You got it. Thank you, Mr. Tui. I have some hands raised. I'm going to start with Legislator Cheney. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Alan, what's the distance, the length of this trail?
It's actually 9.8 miles.
Okay. And this is going to be a paved trail like the Heritage Trail, going to be used year round with the intention in order to get these monies?
Yeah, it'll be a paved trail. Yes. Yeah.
Has any discussion or consideration been given to the annual maintenance costs that were going to begin to incur in a couple of years once the trail's complete? I think, we're very budget conscious and as we need to be. And so that's something that's probably going to fall to the Parks Department. Have they had any input on the maintenance costs yet?
If one of the things that we've included in this initial application is some of the maintenance cost that's actually reflected, I believe, in the well, it's in our application. That goes out, I forget, I believe it's 2 or 3 years. And then we have an opportunity then to
please include the legislature, since we own all the property. I mean, I think it's pretty important that you discuss it with us, not just with all the partners that you've talked about. So I'd appreciate that you can doing that in the future with us before anybody else knows about it, that this is what you're proposing to do. Thank you.
Your point is well taken. There was, I've been coordinating with our sister agencies, and this was really the first action item that we needed to bring. But your point is well taken.
Well, just to that point, we don't even own the property yet, and this proposal's out. So, we gotta do a better job with this kind of stuff, I would say. So thank you anyway, and then there'll be liability after we do own it. Before anything happens, there's a lot of concerns that could have been discussed with the legislature. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Minority Leader Paduch. Next, I have Mr. Hines, followed by Legislator Stiganga. Mr. Hines, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm really excited about this project. I know when I came to the legislature 11 plus years ago, I was contacted by many people in the Blooming Grove, Cornwall area. I know Katie was as well. And I know recently Legislator Stiganga, when she got elected, was very on board with this project. There's a bed and breakfast in Salisbury Mills that's very interested in this. We can bring tourists from the train station right into our communities. That money can be coming from New Jersey on the railroad. They can ride all the way to Mr. Vero's community. I see this as an amazing positive. This is not going through anybody's private property, by the way. Anybody who told you that it's on someone's private property, it's not true. The Open Space Institute is going to buy this. It's not owned by anybody individually right now, as far as I know. Mr. Sorensen, where is that bridge that's pictured on my screen right now? Can you tell me where that is?
So if you go down to, if you're in the village of Washingtonville, I'm forgetting the cross street now, but it's only, I want to say.
Is it Ores Mills Road?
Park, Allen. So it's off of
Mills. Yeah, it's oh, Kathy, thank you. Yeah, it's a short walk from the road in, and it really is a breathtaking view. It goes right over the Moodna, And this one here, the engineers have looked at it, and we feel with the new deck, this bridge is ready to go. There's one a little further down that will be replaced with a pedestrian bicycle bridge.
Right. I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to help the tourism in the area. If nothing else, this pandemic showed us how many people really want to come to our communities. The areas of people walking on these trails during the pandemic, the police had to tow the cars off the roads. There was so many people there. So all these people are going to come back again now that the pandemic's over and enjoy our area. And I think it's really going to help. I mean, you could bring your bike on the train from New Jersey and ride it from the Salisbury Mills train station all the way over to Harriman and jump back on the train and go home. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you're looking for more sponsors, but I would like to be included. I don't know if everybody on the committee wants to be included. I certainly do. I think it's a great project. We're looking at bringing in $16.2 million into our community, as well as the Open Space Institute money. I think it's fantastic. For $1.8 million, you're getting 10 miles of trail. And we can ride this all the way to Middletown, can't we? Or all the way over to Woodbury if we so choose?
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. Thank you for putting this together. Like I said, we've been hearing about this for 11 years, Katie and I know legislator Stiganga has been working on it a lot lately as well. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
You're welcome.
Quite frankly, I've been hearing about it a lot longer than that as town supervisor.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Hines.
been out there for a long time. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's quite all right. That is quite all right. Next, I have legislator Stiganga.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am just going to reiterate both Michael Paduk's and Kevin's. I have been working to try and get this rail trail going back into the early 2000s. On one of my other community stuff, I'm a chamber president, and we have been very adamant about pushing for this through the town, through the county, through the village, and all that. So I'm very well aware of that bridge, because if I walk out my back door, it's on the other side of my property. So this is in my backyard, and I don't have a problem with people using it. It's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to allow some of the businesses here in Blooming Grove to actually thrive from it. It will open things up for them. It'll help with some of our bed and breakfasts. And it'll definitely get people out there to go from there all the way through Cornwall. I think it's a wonderful idea. To actually back up Legislator Padu, I have to tell you, I was very disappointed to read about it in the newspaper as well. I know, Alan, I've spoken to you about this project. So I really thought that, myself, Katie, Kevin, we all, and John Vero are all in that. And we had no idea that this was looking to, we've been pushing for it and asking for it. But to read about it in the newspaper and have our residents know basically before us, I just find a very bad distaste in my mouth on that one. So for future, if you could make sure that we're at least brought up, even if, we're just given the idea of a possibility of something or this type of a project, that would be great, so that we're not blindsided. But I agree with Kevin. I'm 100% behind this. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I hope it comes to fruition. Thank you.
Just for clarity's sake, the articles in the paper were or the media came after the rules agenda was made public. So in terms of those regards, the rules agenda was printed and disseminated to all legislators and the public as well. It could go on the county website. So just to just state that fact, that the rules agenda came out prior to any publication of news media reports of this. So that being said, I will then turn. I see I have Mr. Kulisek next, and then we'll go to Chairman Brescia. Mr. Kulisek, sir, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Mr. Sorensen, can we put the map back up on the screen? I have a picture of the bridge there now.
Okay, yes. Just bear with me one moment.
Sure.
You wanted the picture of the map?
Yes, that's good right there. That's good.
Okay.
On the map, we have the purple is of course the trail, right? The plan trail.
Yes.
And these other yellow marks, or the yellow trail marks, or whatever they might be, what are they for?
Okay, Open Space Institute has a longer range plan, which is not part of this project. And that longer range plan includes the potential acquisition of several other segments along this rail line, and with the goal of ultimately connecting the Scunnamunk Trail to Storm King Arts Center. And then ultimately, if the opportunity should arise in the future, all the way to the city of Newburgh.
Okay. Then all these other, there may be proposed trails, or there a rough idea of what they Open Space Institute and these other organizations may plan to do in the future?
Yes, sir. It's
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And for economic development and recreation and exercise and all that, I'm up at Cape Cod a lot. The Cape Cod Rail Trail is a booming success up there. And in Cape May, the Cape May trails down there, you can travel, I don't know how many miles on both of these systems. And it just brings so many people into the area, if you want tourism or whatever you want to call it. But it's just, for local residents, I think it's a boon too. Absolutely. Fully in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kulisek. Next, I have Chairman Brescia.
Thank you, Chairman Fagione. I just have to disagree with you on of course, the timeshare record saw it on your rules agenda, but obviously the planning stages of this were started way in advance of this rules meeting here today. And I certainly empathize and sympathize with the Minority Leader Paduch's concerns and Legislator Kathy Stiganga as well. I mean, it certainly would have been good for us to at least have some forbearing that this was about to come and been part of the planning process for this, or at least had some input, whether it was Chairman Cheney from Physical Services, Chairman Benton from Ways and Means, or the rest of the legislative leadership. And we've mentioned our displeasure with this lack of involvement on these type of projects way back when. And instead of getting better, it seems to be getting worse. And that's a shame. That's very sad indeed. And I just hope that going forward, it changes a little bit. I have my doubts, but we need to be involved. We're going to be expected to vote on matching monies that aren't going to be covered by the grant. And, we really need to be involved. Alan, you might have been led without us, and we've mentioned it to parks, we've mentioned it to other departments, and I'm not going to go on about it, but please, let's have a little, involvement with the legislature, because we are a co-equal branch, just like Leader Amos says quite often. So, thank you.
Understood. Yeah.
And we'd all like to endorse this project, by the way, too, and I think most of us will.
Okay, next I have Legislator Vero, followed by Legislator Benton. Mr. Vero, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I remember the last time I discussed this project was 3 or 4 years ago on a site visit down in Camp LaGuardia, right on the trail. And we were commenting about how nice it would be to send it the other way, over towards Cornwall area. And that was the last conversation I remember having about this project. On site 3 or 4 years ago. I haven't heard about it since. And just to echo everybody else's sentiments, since it does either originate or end, however you want to look at it, in my community, I would have liked to have had a little input, a little knowledge about what they had planned over the last 3 or 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vero. Mr. Kulisek, your hand was raised. I see you put it back down. Mr. Benton, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sorensen, am I correct that the section in the map that is highlighted in red, those are still privately owned spurs, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay, so So if we were going to be expanding it, we'd be looking to probably spend quite a bit of money for those spurs, because I believe I know the owner, and he would never let something go cheap.
Understood. I would like to just mention, Mr. Chairman, if I may, that the, Open Space Institute, they really had their ability to secure a contract to purchase this segment that we're referring to as the Scunamunk Trail was really the catalyst for, advancing this project. And, so they needed a partner in this, and they reached out, to the county to be a partner. And with the funding that we're pursuing, there's a whole series of steps that needed to be taken, this being one of them. And so, your comments, certainly I've taken to heart, and I will, reach back to the Chairman Fagione and Brescia to see, how we can improve that communication moving forward.
Okay, and also, I may have to apologize and take these words back, and I will if I have to. But again, I don't have too much confidence in this Open Space Institute, because if I'm correct, many years ago, they were willed a big piece of property down in the Central Valley area. And later on, many years later, it was determined that was excess land, obviously against the wishes of the person who passed away those many years earlier. And they ended up selling it many years later for millions of dollars, because they considered it to be excess land. And now it's a big, major upscale development, but you can see it right from Route 17. And so I don't have much trust in the Open Space Institute. They do what they want, it seems, for their own advantage.
I think in this case, they're an important partner, and I know they've partnered with New York State Parks Recreation over the years as well. So I don't know about the specific case that you speak to, but
I'll clue you in next week or later tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Kulisek, my apologies. I saw your hand has been raised again.
Yeah,
Mr.
it's been up.
Floor is yours.
It's been up and down a couple times there. So the more you speak, Alan, the more the longer it seems that this plan has been on the table in front of you. Is that correct? Right. I mean, it's it seems like it's probably been months, maybe a year. It sounds like to me that this has been presented to you, correct?
We've had planning, parks, and DPW have been, as well as the county executive's office, have had discussions with OSI over a series, yes, several months.
Okay, and one quick comment was I saw this first in the legal ads in the newspaper a couple of days before it went public. So somebody had to, I think it was your office that probably put that in the newspaper. Yes. By law, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You got it, Mr. Kulisek. Mr. Paduk, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one comment too in regard to trails, Alan. We have financial issues in the county. 1.8 million is a lot of money. Mr. Kulisek and myself did talk to Eric Rusher, and I think you as well, in regards to the possibility of putting together a program where we could have sponsors that want to have their name or something along the trail that could help us pay for these trails. I don't know if you've done any work on it, but now you're looking to add it. This is another golden opportunity to get people who would like to say that we support the trails in Orange County or whatever, buy a support sign or whatever. I think it's important that we look into it. And that's been mentioned, I know, probably over the last 2 years from Kulisek and myself. So I just want you to keep that in mind, see if there's a way that we could possibly get some additional funding from private corporations or whomever, private businesses along the trail that might want to have a sign there and says, you know, stop in for an ice cream, and it costs them money to be on our trail. I mean, there's a lot of ways to help reduce our costs, and I would appreciate it if you could make that part of the plan. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Paduk.
You're welcome.
And any additional questions from legislators? I'm not seeing any hands raised here. And that being the case, Doreen, if you will, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Amo,
Yes.
Benelli,
Aye.
Cheney,
Yes.
Hines,
Yes.
Kulisek,
Yes.
Paduk,
Yes.
Bureau,
Yes.
Fagion.
Yes.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Thank you, Doreen. And thank you, everyone on the committee. Moving on, I'm going to need a motion and a second for a review. This is the annual review of the continuation of Consolidated Orange County Agricultural District Number 1. And this is letter C. This is the review applications for inclusion of lands in Agricultural District Number 1 and the review of SECRA. And please make sure you have your map packets with you. Looking for a motion and a second, please.
Kulisek motion.
Benelli, second.
Mr. Kulisek for the motion and Majority Leader Benelli for the second. This was something that was discussed Monday in E&E. Chairman or Commissioner Sorensen, sir, the floor is yours.
You might be muted.
Alan, are you with us there, Alan?
Yes, sir.
All
Sorry
right,
about
we are
that.
now on. That's okay. If you want to close that map on your screen share as well, that would be helpful.
Oh, yes.
We've moved on to item C, and this is the review applications for inclusion of lands in Ag District 1, which was discussed Monday in E&E. So can you catch us up to speed, Commissioner?
Yes. So we're just doing the annual Ag District review this year. We had, we're not asking for any action today, rather reviewing documentation that was submitted. In fact, we will be having an Ag and Farmland Protection Board meeting this evening at 7 o'clock, in which the Ag and Farmland Protection Board will review the projects that are being considered for inclusion in the agricultural district. And we have 5 parcels that are in which the applicants have requested inclusion in the Ag District Number 1, and the recommendation is to include some of them, but not all of them. There's one property. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to pull up those properties and share the screen, or just give an overview of the projects?
Go ahead and put them up there, and then as you do, you can give a brief overview. And while you're doing that, can you just run down and I know that you had submitted to me just a bullet point of kind of the process that we're going through. I think there may have been a little bit of discussion on Monday, more or less, of the process. So can you bring up those maps, and we could discuss the process as we are here today as a legislative committee, just to review and not take action on these items today.
Yes, sir. So the annual Ag District review process, we have the 30-day review period, which ran from March 1st to March 30th. And that's where the landowners were able to submit an application asking to be included in the Orange County Agricultural District. They submit an annual enrollment form to the planning department. We then review it with the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. At the end of that 30-day period, which I just stated, those requests come to the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. That'll occur this evening. We will review the request, make recommendations to the legislature. And the two criteria used in its review is whether the lands are viable agricultural land, and two, whether the inclusion would serve the public interest by assisting in maintaining a viable agricultural industry within the district. So thereafter, the county legislature will then hold a public hearing and will act upon the request. After the public hearing, the legislature will send its resolution and related information that will include our maps or environmental assessment forms to the Commissioner of New York State Ag and Markets for certification. And we anticipate the Ag and Market certification will occur in September. And once certified, the properties that the county legislature seeks to add to the Ag District will be officially entered into Ag District number 1. So I have, okay.
Yeah, thank you for that, Commissioner, for that, the process, because I think on Monday there was some discussion about that, and I hope this clears it up. And all legislators will see in their mailbox later today will be the bullet points on that process. So if you will, please continue, Commissioner.
Okay. So the first property that I have on the screen, the applicant is Atlantic Fiber Optic LLC. That just happens to be the company name. The property is 2 acres. It's used for the storage and sale of first cut hay, horse shavings, and contains a temporary medical paddock for injured horses that are in rehabilitation. It also contains a 3,600 square foot warehouse, a 2,130 square foot apartment, and a pet crematorium, as well as exterior storage containers. This property was removed from the Ag District during the 2020 8-year review. The town of Goshen sent a letter indicating that it was not in support of adding this parcel to the Ag District. A preliminary review by several of the Ag District board members had recommended including the property back in the Ag District. However, that decision is not final till the entire board discusses it, which will occur this evening. That's the entire board being the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. This property is in close proximity. It's on Quarry Road, so it is actually very close to the quarry. Actually, if you look over, if you see this red rectangle here on the map where I'm kind of moving the cursor, the quarry is right there. So if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll just go through the 5.
Yeah, please
okay.
do. Just run us through those 5. Thank you.
Okay, the next one I think is pretty straightforward. This is the Chester Agricultural Center. Contains 12.1 acres. It is used to grow mixed vegetables. Parcels are within the black dirt and are adjacent to other parcels that are already in the Ag District. And the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, the subcommittee of the board has recommended adding these parcels to the Ag District. The next property is referred to as the Cotter property. This is off of Ores Mills Road. You have I believe it's the Moodna Trestle and Moodna here. It's a wooded lot. Contains 13.5 acres. The property owners have indicated that is a proposed home site, but they also are proposing some agricultural activity, including growing sunflowers, garlic, watercress, assorted vegetables. Based on a site visit and review of the application, The Ag Board does not recommend including this property in the Ag District at this time. Rather, it recommends that the applicant reapply next year after they have undertaken some of the work that they are proposing to do related to agriculture. The next property is actually one of two properties by the Yurchuk family. One containing 4.6 acres, the other 17.8 acres. These parcels are next to each other and are part of the same family farm. They contain storage buildings used for the storage of farm equipment, as well as the building used on the farm and field crops. These are in black dirt, and the Ag Board Subcommittee has recommended including these in Ag District number 1. And that's all we received this year were the 5 applications.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll open it up to questions, and I will start with Mr. Kulisek, followed by Mr. Hines. Mr. Kulisek, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The one on Quarry Road, the parcel Atlantic fiber optic, what would be the benefit of them being in the Ag District? Obviously, it's not a farm field. I mean, it's just a storage building, and I think it was like maybe a crematory or something for dead animals or something. I was reading, is that correct?
Yes.
What would be the advantage to them being a part of the Ag District?
Well, that's a decision, that the Ag and Farmland Protection Board will have to make this evening. In order to be within the Ag District, they don't necessarily have to be growing things on the site. However, I understand your question because the site appears to be very much of a commercial nature, and I'm sure that's some of the discussion that's going to occur this evening at the Ag and Farmland Protection Board.
Okay. That being said, what is the benefit of anyone being in the Ag District of that classification?
Okay, so the benefits of being in an agricultural district is that it protects the right to farm. So if you're within an agricultural district and you have a viable agricultural practice, if you have neighbors that might complain of nuisance, it provides some protection there. There are benefits with respect to certain agricultural, like farm buildings and things of that nature, being less stringent review at the local level, so that that is a benefit. But the Ag District designation is different and distinct from an agricultural assessment. There are properties throughout Orange County that are in Ag District number 1 that do not receive an agricultural assessment. There are also properties outside of the Ag District that receive an agricultural assessment. So in order to qualify for an agricultural assessment, the farm has to gross income of $10,000 per year, and the farm has to be more than 7 acres in size. Or if it's less than 7 acres in size, it has to gross $50,000 on a property that's less than 7 acres. So, and the property owner would have to apply to receive that agricultural assessment. It's not automatic once you're in the Ag District.
Okay, the agricultural assessment would be a lower assessed rate or value for tax purposes?
Yes, it would. Yes.
Okay. That was my question. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Kulisek. Next, I have Mr. Hines.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to talk about the Cotter property, and if you're voting on this tonight, I hope that you will include it in the Ag District. That's the property on Ores Mills Road. It's 13.5 acres. The Cornwall Blooming Grove community is very excited about this because it's going to be agritourism, where you can go on this property and pick your own sunflowers. how this is not acceptable to the Farmland Protection Board is absolutely baffling to me. And I hope that you, Mr. Sorensen, and Legislator Ruskevich, please vote to include this, because the downside would be counterintuitive to the whole idea of farmland protection. Because what could happen is someone will say, I got 13.5 acres, and what I'm going to do is, if you don't want me to farm it, I'm going to build 4 or 5 houses or flip it, and then you're going to have no farmland there. Anybody who drives on Ores Mills Road right now is looking. There's a project where they're going to build 4 homes in one area. They're already building another home right underneath it, or right near the trestle. And that's area that everybody used to think was beautiful. And now you're going to look at subdivisions. So please don't allow another subdivision there. Let these people do what they want, because I think it's going to be beneficial to the community. I mean, the soils are right. That's what I think you're supposed to review. The community embraces it. I mean, here you have a Goshen saying, no, don't do it. And you say yes. And then you have Cornwall saying, please do it, we beg you. And you say no. So don't give us a subdivision. Let the people farm there, and let the community enjoy their sunflower picking and agritourism. And you can't say they're not farming now, so we're not going to do it, because we've allowed properties that don't have any farming into the ag district before, so that people know that they have the right to do what they want to do. Because if you don't include them, they may flip and build a subdivision. So please do the right thing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. I don't see any additional hands raised of legislators on the committee or other legislators. So that being said, we'll move on to letter D. And as was discussed Monday, just for our own important information, public hearing on these matters will be June 3rd at 6:45 p.m. So the public hearing on these matters will be June 3rd at 6:45 p.m. And ladies and gentlemen, that shows the end of our agenda. Before we close, I just want to thank our IT department. I want to thank our legislative staff, and I want to thank all of my colleagues in the legislature, as well as Mr. Sorensen and all those who have come before us here at the Rules Committee. We are living in a country where thankfully we are coming out of this great pandemic, and I look forward to returning in person to these meetings where we can discuss the people's matters in person and have good and vigorous debate. But I appreciate everyone's patience through this technological step that we've been through, and it would not be possible if we not all work together. So I appreciate everyone for that. And that being said, I will look for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All righty. Thank you all. Please be safe and be well. And I look forward to seeing you all soon back in the people's house. Thank you all. Take care.
Good meeting, Chairman. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.